So, I've had a weird fascination with the Descendants franchise recently. It's something that was always kind of in my periphery. I've been watching the Colin Looks Back's villain retrospectives, and because this Descendant series is all about the kids of the villains, it tends to come up a lot. And then obviously recently, Big Joel did the big watching every DCOM video, and he obviously talks about Descendants in that. But I've never quite taken the jump to engage with it in any meaningful way, because I'm not really a DCOM person, until one day my niece comes home and is like, hey, I want to show you a movie, you'll really like this, and she puts on Descendants Rise of Red. And I was like, well, I can't just watch the fourth movie, so I went back, watched the whole thing, watched a couple of the shorts, and now I'm here, with nothing but questions. If you couldn't already tell, this is unscripted. I'm going mostly stream of thought with a couple beats and notes written down, because I just feel like it was the most effective way to express how insane I found this franchise to be. And I just want to say, I'm not at all here to discuss the quality of the work itself. Like, I'm not interested in whether or not these are good movies. It's just not my concern. If you like Descendants, we're good. If you hate Descendants, we're good. It's not what we're here to talk about. I just want to discuss the implications of this world that they've created, this Disney crossover kingdom. And I don't want to come off like I'm being super anal about, like, keeping with continuity in the context of a big cartoon crossover. I get it. They just kind of want to have fun with it, right? I'm not out here trying to explain why House of Mouse doesn't make sense. But I think because this series is live action and conducts itself with a certain self-seriousness, I just find the strange little continuity slip-ups to just be so entertaining and worth discussing. So let's get started with the Kingdom of Auradon. This is basically a union of different kingdoms from across the Disney canon, helmed by Beast and Belle. They are like the main king and queen. Makes enough sense for the other Disney films that take place in this sort of medieval setting with a royal hierarchy. You've got your Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, Cinderellas. Then you have, like, Aladdin, which, like, fine, okay, fantasy setting, princes and princesses. But we all know that's not really the same geographical location, okay? And then you get to, like, the fantastical stuff. Like, I guess Little Mermaid fits well enough. And then any sense of logic is kind of blown out the window when you get to stuff like Olympus from Hercules or Neverland. And just like, how exactly did these places, like, join the Union? And don't even get me started on explicitly referred to as real-world China, the 101 Dalmatians era of London, the Princess and the Frog era, New Orleans. Also just like the Pride Lands. Like, I guess they can just understand the lions. I guess. The Descendants wiki kind of goes into details about a lot of this stuff, a lot of which doesn't even show up in the movies per se and is confirmed through, like, books and other, like, auxiliary media. But, like, Tarzan's jungle is in here. I'm sorry. Who is the ruling class of Tarzan's jungle, and how did Beast and Belle come to an agreement with them to join Auradon? Did they talk to the gorillas? Did they feel compelled? These, like, 2 or 3 humans living among the gorillas, and you're like, you are a worthy enough member of our United Kingdom. So that's Auradon, and again, this is one of those things where the movies don't want you to think about it. They show you, like, kind of like 2 or 3 of these kingdoms, and then all the weirder ones, they're just like, don't think too hard about it. But the most important part of this whole thing is absolutely the Isle of the Lost. This location is where all the Disney villains are held prisoner in basically a magical island bubble that restricts any use of magic. And this is like the whole thing about this series is that, like, we're dealing with the kids who are born on the Isle of the Lost, the kids of the Disney villains, and kind of integrating them into Auradon. It's like the whole conflict. It's like the main thing about this series, and it's ludicrous. First of all, I was already kind of willing to accept, just for the fun of it, that like, okay, the villains that died in their original movies, in this version of canon, they didn't die, so therefore they had to be imprisoned, like, because they were too powerful, too dangerous, whatever. I could have accepted that. But, and this is not from the movies, but according to the Descendants wiki, Beast and Belle went out of their way to revive the dead villains so they could put them in this prison. What? That's batshit insane. Why would you go through? They were already dead. They were already dead. The problem was already solved for you. Most of these, you probably didn't even kill yourselves. They probably just fell to their deaths or, you know, got hung on some vines. Why would you go out of your way to bring them back to life just so you could put them away? It's so weird. But probably the most significant thing, and the real reason why I wanted to make this video, we know the Disney villains as a group. We, as the omniscient viewer, understand they're all really bad. But in-universe, in a universe where you bring them all together, their crimes are not really comparable. And when you just have a blanket statement of all the Disney villains are trapped here on the magical island, begs the question, what exactly do you have to do to earn your spot there? Like, in universe, they don't know the concept of the Disney villains. That's not a thing. And they explicitly create this area and seal away any magic, right? You can't use magic while you're on the isle. It's part of the deal, which to me makes it sound like it's specifically designed to trap really powerful magical individuals. It's basically like a last resort, right? You know, they're not dead because we revived them. And, you know, if we leave them be, they will use their insane magical powers to destroy the world all over again. So, like, you know, your Maleficents, your Ursulas, your Jafars, these are like the high-level magical threats that have proven to be dangerous, that would need some kind of security measure like the Isle of the Lost. Do you know how many Disney villains are on the Isle of the Lost? We're gonna run through them. We're gonna run through them and talk about how much this whole system is messed up. First off, the evil queen from Snow White. I could kinda see the justification for this one. Like, she has access to potions and spell books and some degree of magical power, presumably. It's not used to great effect in the film. She basically just has a really convincing disguise. But sure, some implied magical power, an attempted murder on a princess, twice. And honestly, because she is the queen of whatever, the Snow White Kingdom, I assume that they kind of just had to usurp her and imprison her somewhere in order to properly seize power. So it's definitely not crazy. Again, not super powerful, magical, taking over the world type, but I mean, I can see it. Lady Tremaine and her daughters from Cinderella. That's just a mean mom. Like, I understand that she is sadistic, she is vile, she is pretty confidently abusive, but that is not grounds for imprisonment. I'd argue, like, by the metrics of the Cinderella era, she probably hasn't committed any kind of crime. Like, this is just strict parenting at that time. And obviously, she has no magic whatsoever. Unless Cinderella 3: A Twist in Time is canon, which is a whole other bag of worms, but even then, she just stole someone else's magic. Any person can theoretically do that. So why? Why does she get stuck with the Isle of the Lost? There's no reason why she should be stuck there. And mind you, this isn't like a standard prison where they have like people checking in on them and like bringing them food or whatever. From my understanding, the only reason they ever go through the barrier to the Isle of the Lost is just for like the Prince Ben's like Auradon project where they're bringing the villain kids in. So like it's a new thing. Otherwise, no food provided, no security measures, they just plop all these villains into this island and have them fend for themselves. So naturally, when you have old woman Lady Tremaine with no powers and her two stepdaughters, which were just mean sisters, they didn't even, like, in ways they were meaner than Tremaine, but they also weren't like the head of the household. They were effectively just following example, so I don't even know how you figure out their issue. But like, how are they supposed to survive next to, like, trained killers magical gods. Obviously, they can't use the magic while they're here, but there's still a lot of dangerous people here, and you just put an old lady in there because she was mean. And how was this decided again? Was there a meeting when all the kingdoms united, where Beast and Belle went, okay, we're gonna do this Isle of the Lost thing, we're gonna put all of the villains, which feels like a charged word in this context, we're gonna put all the villains away on this isle. Would everyone from every kingdom, do you all have any pitches for who we need to put on there? And does Cinderella, nice, kind, ever virtuous Cinderella, does she, honest to God, raise her hand and go, yeah, I think my mom deserves to be on there? Like, yes, evil stepmother, that's her thing, but like, this is bordering on like Cinderella character assassination, if that's like the context of how this happened. If Beast and Belle like somehow decided it, then again I ask, how? Why? What is the justification? Next, the Queen of Hearts is sort of a special case. For some reason, Wonderland wasn't invited to Auradon. Like, the Queen of Hearts had such a stranglehold on Wonderland specifically that they just couldn't unite it into the rest of the kingdom, and they were just like, screw it, just put up a wall, we're not gonna worry about it. Which feels concerning in its own right. Like, if you know full well that there is a kingdom being run by a mad tyrant mercilessly cutting off citizens' heads, and your decision on how to deal with that is just to put up a wall and forget about it, thus not letting the citizens of the land escape in any way, and also not helping them at all with the like beheading tyrant situation. I don't know. That seems bad. Well, in any case, if the Queen of Hearts was on the Isle of the Lost, I think it'd be perfectly justified. The Descendants movie specifically kind of give her some like extra magical power, so that she kind of feels intimidating in the one movie where she's relevant. So, like, sure, and obviously she's an awful, terrible murderer. Like, sure, I could see her on the Isle of the Lost. Captain Hook and Mr. Smee. These are pirates. Once again, no magical ability to speak of, so I'm not sure why the Isle of the Lost is necessary for this. Is the Isle of the Lost their only prison system? Like, do they not have something set up for just the normal fucking crimes? Because, sure, Captain Hook is a confirmed murderer. Not like attempted murder, not like, oh, he's a pirate, so it's implied that he murdered. No, we saw him shoot one of his crew on screen. That is hard confirmed. Mr. Smee less so, but, you know, he was complicit in the whole thing. So I have to ask, just like, so I like, yes, obviously, like, Captain Hook should probably serve time in this context, but, like, on the Isle of the Lost forever? No one's on the Isle of the Lost temporarily, at least not the villains. This is like a life sentence until the end of Descendants 3 where they're all set free because reasons. So like, my instinct is no, like he shouldn't be. I feel like there should be a different, separate prison system for the normal humans where you actually like attempt some level of rehabilitation. I feel like that would be the appropriate action. And I mean, we all know these characters. We know that, you know, most of them probably, if rehabilitation's null and void for someone like a Captain Hook. But I mean, in like a just system run by the good people, is that should be the point of the prisons. It should be temporary incarceration with the purpose of rehabilitation so that they can re-enter society safely. There was nothing controversial there, right? I fucking hope not. But anyway, I feel like Captain Hook, you know, he did a murder. I don't think that's life sentence on the Isle worthy. Maleficent, we already kind of rushed through, but like, yes, mistress of all evil, magical powers, can turn into a dragon, can bury a castle in thorns, like fire and brimstone, like she is dangerous. The Isle of the Lost feels made for villains like her. Sure. Fine. Some level of magical security necessary for a character like Maleficent. Cruella de Vil tried to kill some dogs, which is bad. I don't like that. We all dislike that Cruella de Vil did that, right? She didn't pull it off. So, like, yes, it's a crime, but again, normal woman probably doesn't need the life sentence on the magical island prison. I'm pretty sure she's on, like, parole in 101 Dalmatians 2. Yeah, what she did definitely warrants some time, but like she's on parole for good behavior. It's not that dramatic of a sentence. She kidnapped some dogs. From a judicial perspective, I don't know if there's any evidence that she was gonna kill the dogs. Like, would Jasper and Horace, like, blab about that? I'm really not sure. We all know what she was gonna do to those dogs, but do the people of Auradon know? And they still put her on the Isle of the Lost. Ursula, justifiable. I mean, even without the big, like, trident power play, she's got a lot of power. Like she's dangerous. I'm perfectly comfortable with the idea of putting her on the Isle of the Lost to restrict her magic. Fine. Gaston. This one feels personal, like Beast and Belle run this kingdom, and they consciously chose to put Gaston in there. Gaston, once again, ordinary man, and, arguably, didn't do a crime. All he's guilty of is rallying a village to try and kill what they believe to be a giant monster. Now, we know that that monster was the future king, but it feels a little mean to punish Gaston for trying to do what he believed to be a civil service and what several others believed to be a civil service just because of a bait and switch that they couldn't have possibly known about. And look, we know Gaston's intentions weren't pure. We know that this was a way of, like, eliminating competition, getting back at Belle, yada yada yada. We know there was malice there. But from a judicial perspective, Town Hero didn't truly do anything worthy of the Isle of the Lost. And again, normal man, no magic powers, clear-cut case of should not be on the Isle. Jafar, yes, I would love to know how the Jafar situation works, because he's supposed to be a genie if his movie played out. So did they just, like, put the lamp in the Isle of the Lost, and because it restricted magic, he was just, like, returned to human form and remained stuck as that? I think that'd be really funny, but yes, totally warranted to have Jafar on the Isle of the Lost. Makes enough sense to me. Scar murdered a king, which is pretty bad in this context. Murdered one of the kings of Auradon. I still don't know how lions work in this world. Like, are they understood? There's a whole thing in Descendants 2 about how they can't talk to animals. Like, they have to give Carlos's dog, I think that's his name, Carlos's dog something magical in order to understand their speech. So I have no idea how the lions work. Scar feels like he was put on the Isle of the Lost as like a political prisoner, probably. So sure, I guess. By the way, the only reason we know Scar is on the Isle of the Lost is because of the end of Descendants 3. There's a sign with Scar's face on it. That's the only reference to him in the movies. Then there's Hades, god of the underworld, evil guy, definitely has some magic. You'd think he was warranted. He has a pretty important job, right? He runs the underworld, the implied grander underworld that, like, needs managing in the context of this universe, right? What does it mean that he's on the Isle of the Lost? Like, what happens to all of that? So, like, again, makes sense that he's here, evil guy. I want to know who took up his position. But Hades and Maleficent are confirmed to be an item in Descendants, and they also did that in House of Mouse. So at this point, do two questionably canon instances of the same relationship, do they not just come together and basically soft confirm that, like, yeah, the Disney people consider this to basically be canon? Shan Yu, that's one where we spend a lot more time with Mulan's daughter than we do any of Shan Yu's descendants, but we see, like, there's a poster that's, like, Shan Yu's dim sum in the Isle of the Lost, so we know he's there. Led an army to take over China, killed a lot of people, scary guy, pretty high profile crime, even if there's no magic involved, so probably in, like, the Scar camp, you know, same kind of deal. Dr. Facilier from Princess and the Frog definitely has some magic stuff going on. I think the voodoo definitely counts as magic, so that's certainly justifiable. But I will say his crimes against humanity are definitely on a much smaller scale, a much more personal scale. So this once again feels like Tiana Naveen vendetta. Like when they were coming up with the roster for who to put on the Isle of the Lost, Tiana was like, "Ooh, I know who to put on there. This'll get him good," even though he was, like, already dragged to hell, right? Now that's everyone we know about from the main movies. I wouldn't mind. There's a comfortable little list from the Descendants wiki that goes over some of the extra villains from, again, the auxiliary media, like the books and such. Yzma from Emperor's New Groove. I mean, potion magic, which feels like easily restrictable without needing to worry about the Eye of the Lost. Also tried to kill an emperor, as kind of makes sense. Flotsam and Jetsam, I mean, did they do a crime? They were just kind of eels, like, who liked Ursula. I don't know, that one feels weird. LeFou makes even less sense than Gaston. He wasn't even the leader of the mob, he was just part of it. And again, civil service. Mother Gothel? Again, no magic, but pretty terrible crime. Kidnapping a princess, keeping her in prison for years and years. Clayton tried to kidnap a bunch of gorillas, presumably illegally. But I don't know, I feel like if it was like the British who ran like the Tarzan section of Auradon, I feel like they might be on Clayton's side. I really don't know the details of that. But in any case, no magic to speak of. Shouldn't be on the Isle. Judge Claude Frollo did a genocide, or at least tried to do a genocide. He can be on the Isle of the Lost. Lucifer, the cat. Only crime is being a cat. Hyenas, same situation as Scar, I guess, except they didn't murder a king, actually, so that's weird. Edgar Balthazar, the butler from the Aristocats. He tried to kidnap and kill some cats. Failed again. Same boat as Cruella, except not nearly as malicious, so this just feels bad. Governor Ratcliffe from Pocahontas did a genocide, at least tried to do a genocide. Same boat as Frollo. The Ringmaster from Dumbo, that is just a man doing his job. I know, like, Dumbo didn't really like the circus act at all, but I mean, by the end of the film, the Ringmaster gives him, like, his own train car and lets him see his mom and the whole thing. Like, I don't see this one at all. Jasper and Horace, Cruella's goons, at same boat as Cruella. Iago is a parrot. Just a parrot. Tick-Tock the crocodile. Is he even a villain? He's only antagonistic towards Captain Hook, another villain. How the hell was that decided? Stabbington brothers from Tangled, they're just kind of thugs. Like, I don't know. So, as you can plainly see, there's a lot of people on the Isle of the Lost that really shouldn't be there. Like, the little oversight of, yeah, let's just put all the Disney villains on this island prison set up by the good guys really falls apart when you think about the kinds of people that are lumped together. But anyway, that's all. That I just wanted to talk about that because I thought it was funny and entertaining, and I hope it was funny and entertaining for you. Maybe. Probably not. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for watching whatever the hell this was. Of course, if you enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe. Why the hell is the Queen of Hearts as a teenager aware that New York exists?